So what is pay compression? So pay compression is where somebody's been in the job for a long time, they haven't moved much, but they just keep getting their raises, they're doing a good job, and then you have market conditions are such that you're hiring in new people at a really close salary to somebody who's been in the job for a long time. So it has to do with when that the pay spread for new hires is less than qualified employees or current incumbents. So what might cause that? Well, it's just some of it could be internal, some of it can be external. So internally, it could mean that we haven't kept up with the market and we haven't paid attention. We haven't been adjusting our pay ranges and given our employees those cost of living adjustments and as well as salary adjustments based on what's going on in the market. So if we haven't done a good job of adjusting our pay ranges, those minimums and maximums, then it can cause this compression. But it could also just be out in the market. If there is some skill set that you really need, that a lot of people need, then that's going to start pushing up the salaries for those highly skilled but untested people that are just coming into the market. All right. And then what are its possible effects? Well, guess what? If I've been in this job for a long time and I'm getting just a couple $1,000s more than somebody else, I'm probably not going to be very happy about that. So it can damage morale. It can hurt the overall competitive advantage of the organization because I might have a great skill set and I'm very experienced, but if I feel like you're not treating me fairly, I will leave, right? So it can damage things in a lot of different ways. And then how could you prevent it? So keep up with what's going on in the market and make sure that your organization's maximum pay rates, okay, the pay range, your maximum needs to be very similar to what you're seeing as maximums out there in the labor market. All right. So it's basically just continue to do those salary surveys, continue to monitor to make sure that you are treating your employees fairly. So this was last year, but managers in the public sector, meaning the government, they often make less money, but here it's even worse, right? So now they're making less money than subordinates because certain union rules prohibit high-level managers from joining and benefiting from those salary agreements from that labor negotiation. So they actually had salary inversion, meaning that the brand new employees with zero experience or very little experience were making more than those highly skilled people that were already in the organization, those incumbents. So this was becoming such a problem that they decided to discuss it at their national association. Okay, so what are green circle and red circle pay rates? So you can see over on the left that I have the stoplight as my symbol so that you will remember what is a red circle and what is a green circle. Okay, so I'm just going to slip to the next slide. So green circle is where it is below the minimum pay range, or the minimum of the pay range. So here we're paying somebody less than the pay range. Again, why might that happen? Well, maybe you've got somebody and you think that they could do this great job and they're just about finished with their degree, but they have one more class to go. So you can't pay them within the range. So you've told them, if you go ahead and you finish your degree, then we'll bump you up immediately and you'll be able to be into the range. So just usually it has to do with something that this employee is not meeting those minimum requirements of the job itself, but we have a belief that they will get there. Red circle. So the red circle is whenever you're paying above the maximum. So again, why might that happen? Well, here there are several reasons. So you might have a rock star performer and you don't want them to leave, and so you're willing to bump them up above the maximum of the pay range. Or maybe you are trying to match an employee if they have another job offer someplace else. So those are the good side. The bad side is that it might be somebody got demoted. So maybe somebody got promoted to being a group manager. They didn't do a very good job, but you want to keep them because they're a great individual contributor. So you have demoted them, but it's really difficult to take salary away from people. And so they just may not get raises for a while as we're trying to come up to that. So those are your red circle below the minimum. Wait, what did I just say? Your green circle below the minimum, red circle above the maximum. Okay. The last step in constructing our pay structure has to do with what we had talked about in Chapter 7, which you're putting it all together. So you want to look at your wage curve, and the wage curve again is where you're looking at those internal job structure, your internal evaluation points, your internal salaries. So you've got a wage curve, but you also need to look at your market pay line. So again, you're looking at those job evaluation points, your internal job structure, but now we're comparing it to market salaries, market pay ranges, okay? So we're really want to evaluate where do we fall. So before, in our example, when we did the job evaluation points, we noticed that the pay for our nurses was way below that of other nurses, but also our points value, our evaluation points were probably pretty low. So maybe we really need to do some adjustments there. The same was true at the end at Coordinator of Emergency Services. We're paying a lot more than the market. So again, we just need to look at that and make sure that what we're what we're saying the job is what the job actually is. So we need to do a really good job of, we don't want to overpay people, we don't want to underpay people, we want to pay them fairly, we want to pay them strategically, okay? So that's where you're just going to put all of that together. So the last part of that is what is a compa-ratio? So a compa-ratio is calculated by dividing a specific employee's pay rate by the pay range midpoint. So really what you're doing is looking at an individual employee compared to the midpoint. And a ratio of 1 means they're right at the midpoint. A ratio below says that their pay rate falls below, and a pay rate a compa-ratio above 1 says that you are paying above the market or above the midpoint. And if you're doing a market match policy, they're paying above the midpoint, you're paying above the market. So it's a good way to kind of look at that and make sure that what you're doing is fair for the employee and that you're paying them for the skill set, and they're not going to be looking someplace else in the market. All right, thanks guys.